pack your backpack and get ready for the journey, because today we're going in search of real treasures. We will show you the strangest finds that people have discovered, and some of them require your careful study. Now, please give this video your like, and let's start watching. These guys managed to enter a huge abandoned house, in the garage of which they accidentally discovered a whole collection of old luxury cars. For example, check out this Rolls-Royce of the last generation. But the real gem among them was this black Lamborghini Diablo. In addition, such a garage is not the only place where you can find an abandoned car. For example, here, in the middle of the savannah, a Discovery Channel car was discovered. However, exactly what happened to the film crew has remained a mystery. Considering the distance, the shadow from the tree cannot fall on the clouds in any way. If you have any guesses about what is hanging over them, then be sure to write them in the comments. In this old barn, they found not just old prestigious cars, but real retro legends. Such a collection can be estimated at hundreds or even millions of dollars, but who would want to sell such a miracle? Not everyone can visit the cockpit, but only if you haven't found an abandoned Boeing at the old airfield. Climb over the wing, explore the cabin, and now you can check out how you look at the steering wheel of the Iron Bird. We have seen many fountains, but it is almost impossible to explain the origin of such a fountain. It turns out that bees can not only attack, but also make a real show. This is an amazing place in Florida where the muddy Ocklawaha River meets the spotlessly clean Silver River. Where would you rather swim? As it turned out, the wildlife from Game of Thrones is not even an adventure from the author. You can't tell right away, but there's more than just a secret room behind a seemingly ordinary closet. This is a real hobbit cave. The owner of the house has not managed to arrange it properly, but you must admit this is a great opportunity to escape from uninvited guests. Usually whales or sea turtles are thrown onto the coast of the Pacific Ocean, but this time the people on the beach were really scared. The discovery turned out to be a drone that the American Air Force used during the exercises. However, for ordinary civilians, it seemed like a really dangerous weapon. If you remember the movie about Jeepers Creepers, then you may be pleased, or rather disappointed, because a guy in Mexico found a copy of it. Yes, its size is slightly smaller, but it already has caused a stir among the locals. Who knows, maybe there's a bigger copy of it somewhere nearby. Sharks may seem like scary monsters to us, but sometimes they suffer from common spinal problems. Just look at how much its back is bent as a result of some kind of deformation. This shark is nicknamed Quasimodo, and as they say, a wounded animal becomes even more dangerous. Here's another reason to check abandoned buildings. The guys did not even expect that they would end up in an old car repair shop, which is simply full of luxury cars. So if you've never been in a limo, it is quite possible you can do it in some abandoned building. Turtles who were obviously interested in fashion decided to add a little moss to their shell. Just imagine that while walking through the forest you came across a similar bee city. What do you think is the best thing to do in this case? Yet the best fountains are created by nature itself. Just check out the 20-meter jet of water that leaves a rainbow. The phenomenon of two moons is an extremely rare astronomical phenomenon, which is explained by the approach of Mars or an optical illusion. But it seems that now scientists will have to break their heads again. Sometimes successful fishing is not only a good catch, but also an amazing natural phenomenon. However, here is a clear example when both of them can be combined. These guys donated something to Poseidon, I'm 100% sure. The sky after the geyser parade is another reason to go to Sicily sooner. Who would have thought that this particular job would bring them the first hundreds of thousands of dollars? Underground waterfalls have always been fascinating, but we have something special for you. The waterfall in Tennessee will not leave even the most sophisticated viewer indifferent. 145 feet or 44 meters of water and incredible lighting in this limestone cave will leave you with memories for a lifetime. It seems that we have found something that every Christopher Nolan fan should visit. Namely, the very room with books that Joseph Cooper got into at the end of Interstellar. Now you have every chance to try yourself as well. Of course, at first, we thought that mysticism was the main reason, but then we remembered that this is a rather rare optical phenomenon called Fata Morgana. In fact, these are just a few mirages reflected in each other. There are a lot of mammals in Australia, but we definitely did not expect to see Dementors there. What we definitely wouldn't want to stumble upon is a bunch of bloodsuckers gathered in one place. Please use the comment sections below if you can explain it. So far, we can only think of spells from Harry Potter. The existence of UFOs is confirmed not only by crop circles, but by similar clouds as well. Surprisingly, this is an absolutely real apartment building in France. Its width is only 3.5 meters, and its owners clearly do not need a lot of space. But if we're talking about unusual dwellings, check out the hotel, which is located in the mountains of Peru. Here's the main advantage: it has a great view, and it's guaranteed to be an unforgettable experience. The main disadvantage is that you will be sleeping over an abyss of several tens of meters. Seems that we've found the real room of the future. Its walls, floor, and ceiling are large screens that you can just watch for hours. Just imagine what kind of party you can have here. We've already seen the fountain stone today, but how do you like such a hydrant tree? These swings on the wall of the border of Mexico and the United States help to maintain friendliness between neighbors and remind us just how important it is to enjoy life.
What a twist! Haven't you expected to see this either, have you?
But such a find would be extremely interesting. This is an American M4 tank that has been in the water since World War II. Of course, it could have been left as an artificial reef, but it seems that it has the greatest historical value. I'm sure that people who managed to get here clearly found out what a dashed hope is. As we know, sometimes you can find an entire car fleet in an abandoned building. The only thing is, if you think these cars are yours now, you don't need to be that fast. Everything may change. In fact, they are relatively new. It's just that a nearby car dealership stores them here. Just imagine the disappointed faces of the guys when they found out about it. What do you obviously not expect to see when walking in the woods? I'm sure that's such a real airplane graveyard. Moreover, some of them have been preserved since the 40s of the last century. The hero of the video was lucky, and he was even able to study more modern models from the inside. This guy found something even more serious in the middle of the forest, namely a part of a space rocket. It's hard to say how exactly it got there, but most likely it's the cover of the part that it threw off during takeoff. We do not know what these fish are called, but the face of this fish is extremely similar to a human one, which personally gives me goosebumps. Like it if you feel uncomfortable too. It seems that he's found someone who is really ready to eat for two. Surprisingly, and perhaps this is some kind of gene mutation, but the fish really has two mouths. We may not see the boundaries of the seas on the map, but sometimes they are extremely clearly delineated due to the density and salinity of the water. We have bad news for you if you thought that sea urchins are absolutely motionless. Nature has decided to reward this beetle with the most frightening appearance. This family just bought a house, but they were surprised when they found a secret well under the floor, the depth of which is even difficult to calculate. We have seen all the clean, transparent lakes, but never pink ones. The whole secret is in the reproduction of bacteria and special algae that create a similar color.
To be honest, I'm speechless after witnessing it. What about you?
But in the Gulf of Mexico, not far from the Bermuda Triangle, you can find a real graveyard of ships. More than 4,000 people have drowned here in recent years, and local researchers still cannot explain the reason. Everything is complicated by the fact that most of the ships lie at a depth of 2,000 meters, which greatly complicates the search for the causes of the crash. However, imagine how many more mysteries this place holds. At the same time, the one who can really surprise is the turtle with two heads. I wonder when they grow up, will they argue which of them is wiser? What will be a little creepy is to find 40 busts of American presidents several meters in size on an empty land plot in Virginia. In fact, the story is much simpler. A theme park was supposed to open here, but plans have changed, and now these busts have become an unofficial attraction of the local town. You don't have to drive a long way if you want to cross the railroad tracks. 200 wagons were left in Arizona, and now anyone who finds them can take a picture, and the biggest extreme lovers try to spend the night in this place. The guys from Toronto found a whole collection of old abandoned boats. In addition, they spend a lot on repairs and restoration, and now they can freely enjoy the coastal waves. How often can you see the Mi-24 helicopter up close? The people in the next video can spend hours with it. Walking through the forest, he discovered real helicopters. Apparently they were decommissioned a long time ago and just left in the forest. Here's another airplane graveyard right in the middle of the desert. The guys even found a real B-52 bomber, which apparently has long been scrapped. Isn't it the best place for photos on social networks? But such a find is no less impressive. This is a whole fleet of military equipment. Of course, it's not worked for many years, otherwise no one would have left it to its fate. But it would be definitely interesting to study these machines personally. In front of you is the famous supersonic Su-24 aircraft, or rather, there are several of them. The main purpose of such aircraft was to gain extremely low altitude and operate out of radar range. Mysterious circles can be found not only in the fields or in the sky. For many years, scientists have been recording steadily appearing mysterious 2-meter circles underwater. Many were really sure that aliens were behind their origin. However, the answer turned out to be much simpler. This is a kind of ritual of the pufferfish, which outlines the territory for mating, so sometimes the answer to big riddles can be incredibly simple. Here is what seemed unusual to the residents of one of the German towns. It is a strange, huge hole in the ground. Its origin cannot be determined, but measurements showed a depth of more than 20 meters. It's hard to imagine what exactly could have come out of there one night. Yet we finally found a place where heaven meets earth. It's magical, isn't it? It's lucky for any fisherman to see a tuna of this size, let alone catch it.
There are things that are absolutely impossible to believe, and how could this even happen?
Just imagine how strong the wind must be to obstruct the waterfall. Tornadoes always look impressive, but what if it's an insect tornado? Now take a look at such a miracle that can appear when the starry sky is reflected in crystal clear water. Let's admit that nature is still the best artist. You can't even imagine what's behind the door of this old house. That's what it means to have the right priorities. Here is another example of what does not need to be judged by appearance. Inside this rusty old carriage, the owners have arranged a truly comfortable apartment. No, these are not aliens from another planet, but the most real starfish that you can meet on the beaches of California. It's hardly a coincidence, but an abandoned military training ground was also found next to the planes, so it's scary to imagine what other secrets this place can keep. If you've been very impressed by horror movies, you probably wouldn't want to go into an abandoned house and spend time there either. But the people in the next video definitely don't go to the movies. They entered an abandoned house in the middle of the forest, and after a while found a whole ammunition depot. Lovers of ancient history will definitely be impressed by so many treasures found in ancient Egypt. We don't know who the lucky guy is who found this, but now we can say about him he is as rich as a pharaoh. Here is a chapel on one of the coasts which was able to survive an extremely destructive tsunami. Surprisingly, everything for kilometers around it was washed away, and now it is a symbol that inspires people to cope with any difficulties. What do really extreme tourists choose when traveling to France? The Louvre or the Eiffel Tower? Forget it, we need to find a haunted house. This semi-flooded 3-story building looks incredibly creepy, especially if you dare to come here at night. In addition, the locals tell the most terrible legends about it. Are you ready to spend the night there? But the most useful find is the one that saves someone's life. For example, while walking in the forest, people heard the pitiful howl of a dog that had fallen into a trap and was apparently already awaiting its demise. Fortunately, the kind people were able to get the animal out, which will now be incredibly grateful to them. It's hard to explain what happened, but you definitely don't expect to see this in the forest. This is a bicycle embedded in a tree. It's hard to imagine how many years it has stood for such an effect, but it looks incredibly impressive. It may be difficult to survive in the jungle, but the problem with the shower has definitely been solved. To do this, it is enough to find such a flower, which you can squeeze and refresh yourself in the heat.
And how do you like such a twist? To be honest, I can't do without your comments here.
Somewhere in the vastness of the North Sea, day and night can come at the same time. It looks incredibly impressive. Maybe Titanoboa has long been extinct, but you will definitely remember it during such a meeting. Wonder who they're trying to summon here. On one of the coasts of Washington state, the water carried out really gigantic trees. No one can figure out where they grew before, but the diameter of the trunk ranges from 1.5 to 3 meters. Of course, against the background of such giants, anyone seems tiny. Do you know that stones can move too? At least in the desert. The footprints near these giant stones indicate that they have traveled long distances. Scientists suggest that the reason for this is strong gusts of wind and an ice crust on the rocks, which forms during low temperatures at night. In any case, floating rocks remain a real phenomenon. Australia is famous not only for kangaroos and huge spiders, but also for incredible species. Just look at the rarest shots when dense clouds gently lay on the surface of the mountains and gently rolled down. Such a natural phenomenon of incredible beauty is rare, and not every experienced traveler can see it live. Perhaps this is the most beautiful sewer in the world, and it is located in China. Looking behind such a thing, you definitely don't expect to see so many flowers there. We can't even imagine what treasures can be found underwater near us. For example, here, divers found a whole arsenal of old weapons, a steam locomotive, and an armored personnel carrier. The place itself remains a mystery, but I think we will soon be able to see it in some museum. Given the flora and fauna in Indonesia, we're not sure what we're seeing right now is just a cloud. It is quite possible that this is the real Kaju. Did you know that almost every major city has a whole world of dungeons hidden under it? It's hard to find a really interesting piece of art. But here we are reminded that Kuwait produces 3 billion barrels of oil every day, which looks pretty impressive. Okay, there must be some mysticism here. Now, imagine your level of fear if you met her at night. Do you think this is a real ghost ship? In a sense, yes. You can find such impeccable graphics in the museum dedicated to the Titanic. But real fans of extreme sports who do not have much time to travel can find adventures in such a spa. They obviously know a little more about the multiverse than we do. I don't think you've ever seen a forest change its landscape on its own. The Headless Horseman is known to everyone, but the camel is already a little alarming. In fact, we found this funny creature at the zoo. Is it a portal to paradise, a jellyfish, or a flying saucer? Write in the comments what you see here. Have you ever seen the sky this color? In fact, this is colored gas, which was leaked at one of the factories in China. However, it still looks spectacular. But the real special effects are created by nature itself. Just look at this 10-meter fountain that leaves a rainbow. If you've been thinking about what the gates to hell look like, then you can finally look at them now. We're skeptical about UFO theories, but can you try to explain such a thing? This is what fishermen from all around the world want to get. Here is another mysterious pink lake, but this time the reason for the amazing color is not algae, but the increased salinity of the water. Moreover, it is so high that we do not recommend trying to swim in it. Here's a working life hack on how to surprise guests who really like your garden. Such a slot machine at home is certainly fun, but look what we found behind it. Just imagine how much fun a party with friends you can have here. The river in Saudi Arabia may be slightly different to what we're used to seeing. For example, here it consists of sand and melted hail. What do you think of such a monster? Its name is the Hell Salamander, and you probably don't want to pet it. It's hard to believe, but scientists still found the remains of the first preserved dragon. Now we have another reason to go to India. Check out the road of incredible beauty that separates the Arabian Sea and the local river. This view is worth it. It seems to be the best underwater camouflage that we've ever seen. An anemone only needs a few seconds to disappear without a trace in case someone touches it. Such a mutated fish can surprise you on the seabed. To be honest, we would like to avoid such a meeting. Such an outfit will be the most noticeable at any party. I bet this is the most grateful sea slug you've ever seen. By the way, they call him the Spanish Dancer. We don't know how these fruits taste, but visually, they don't look really nice. What do you think will happen if you try to stand on it? Blue jellyfish may look cute, but they may well sting you. So as soon as you see such a beauty, it is better not to go in the water. It's hard to say which is more impressive, the size of the sculpture or how realistic it is made. Just imagine that finding one treasure can make you incredibly rich. What do you think might be hidden in a gold box of this size? Be sure to write your answer in the comments.